So it's now May, and you know what that means. We have to do another one of these Pokemon tier list videos in order to get out before Scarlet and Violet comes out. That way we can do it when it comes out. And this month is Gen 3. And Gen 3 is an interesting one, as technically it was my first generation of games. My first Pokemon game was Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which is Gen 3. But many people say it's Gen 6, but I always consider it Gen 3, even though it's technically not, since it's the same Pokemon, so these Pokemon have a soft spot to me. Also, because of that, it was very hard to find any Pokemon that I truly disliked. I mean, as you could see by the tier list, there's obviously ones that I didn't like, which I'm going to talk about. But I was going through it from the start, and all of them were going either in neutral or above, and I was like, this is pretty good. And I got to a couple that I didn't like, obviously. But most of them I liked. Also, side note, there's a lot of forms I noticed, because it was released in Gen 6. With Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, they gave them a lot of megas. And besides that, Pokemon like Deoxys and Cast form that have like multiple forms, just like when I was taking them out, I kept missing them because of how many forms there were. But it's a side note, and let's get into the Pokemon that I did not like. So starting off the F tier, we have Wynaut as my least favorite Gen 3 Pokemon, which may come as a surprise, as you can probably see in this tier, there are a lot of Pokemon that people dislike more than Wynaut, but for me, Wynaut takes the position as the worst one, because, like many of the ones in the past video, it's pointless, and it's a baby, and that's, like, enough on its own, but I feel like of all the baby Pokemon, Wobbuffet was definitely the one that deserved it the least. Because Wobbuffet is a very gimmicky Pokemon, you want to get your opponent to attack it, so that way you can use counter or magic coat. It's the punching bag Pokemon. It's what you expect. So giving it Wynaut as a baby is kind of dumb, and is why I don't like it. I mean, it's also uglier than Wynaut, or Wobbuffet, and also their designs don't really make sense, because Wobbuffet is kind of like bald, you could say, and Wynaut has like the ear things coming down, so just a little inconsistent with that. But next up is Volby and Illumise, which I'm saying them together because they're basically the same Pokemon, which is the exact reason that I don't like them. Aside from the fact that they're, like, forgettable and weak and whatever, they just don't need to exist. Like, I feel like they could have given them an evolution, or even made them stronger, or just put one of them. Like, they could have just put Volby or just put Illumise, or, like, combined their designs into one, and made that one stronger, and it still would have been forgettable, but it wouldn't have been, like, this forgettable, So, that's just a little gripe I have with it. Next up is a Azurill, which is basically the star Pokemon of Y. Why does it exist? Meryl and Azumarill, which I very like both of them, definitely didn't need this. I guess it's cute, but again with these babies, the ones that look like they're about to cry, like Wynaut and Togepi and this one, Azurill, forgot what it was called, just bother me because like that's the least cute part of a baby is the crying. So why design a sad baby Pokemon around a very happy Azumarill? Which, I don't know. And then lastly, Chemeko, which, I mean, who really likes Chemeko? Like, name one person you know that likes the Pokemon Chemeko, or even know what it is for that matter. It should have gotten an evolution in Gen 4, because they gave it Chingling, which that's for a whole nother video next month. But, like, they could have just done so much more with an evolution. Just saying. And I mean so much more. They could have just made it better, Like something that gave people a reason to like Chemeko. Now we're going to move on to the D tier Pokemon. And for those of you who do not remember from the first video, this is Pokemon that I don't like, but I don't hate. So like I would put them below neutral, so I don't like... When I look at them, I feel something, and it's something negative usually, so that's why they're here. But then again, I don't hate them. So that's why Kecleon is here, because Kecleon at one point was actually my least favorite Pokemon of all time. And it was for a while, but obviously it has grown onto me the point of not being in the bad tier with the Pokemon like Wynaut or Chemeko, It's like better than that, but it's still not my favorite. Because basically, when I was playing Omega Ruby for the first time, I think, because I collected Pokemon cards before I started, I saw basically every other Pokemon up to the point where you can encounter Kecleon in the game, And I saw it, and I was like, oh, it's a new Pokemon. And then I was like, oh, that's cool. What does it do? And I was like, nothing. And so that excitement was immediately lost because of how worthless Kecleon was. And that's why I've always never really liked it. It also doesn't have a great design. It's obviously could have had an evolution or something, would have made it better. But yeah, that's why. So next up we have Silcoon and Cascoon, which are at different points of the thing, but they're basically the same Pokemon, so I loop them together. So the reason that I like Silcoon less than Cascoon is because when you evolve a Wurmple, you can always get a Silcoon and never a Cascoon, which I prefer Cascoon over Silcoon, which is why it's higher. But because Silcoon always seemed to show up, and when I never wanted it, I always kind of disliked it more. But I've always never liked the quote-unquote cocoon Pokemon, which you could probably see by Gen 1, as I put like Metapod and Cocoon in the same tier. And that's probably why I like the Gen 2 bug so much, is because there's no like useless cocoon Pokemon in the middle of it. Like, I would just have the bug go straight to the butterfly. Like, we know there's a cocoon, but you don't have to put it in there. Next up, I believe, is Peliper, and Peliper is everywhere. No matter what game you're playing, it's everywhere. You cannot escape Peliper. It also has a very bad design. Like, there's Pokemon that you see everywhere. There's, like, Geodude and Zubat. But you're like, yeah, they have good design, and they're iconic from Gen 1. Then you see Peliper, and it has this, like, beak thing going down to its butt. And, like, you don't know where that, like... you look at Peliper, and you don't know what you're looking at. Like, it's a pelican, but it's, like, a really ugly pelican. Alright, next up is Lombre, which is a disappointment to grass Pokemon everywhere. It also lets down its evolutionary line, as both Ludicolo and Lotad are phenomenal Pokemon, and Lombre is not. And that is mostly because I've never liked the middle stage Pokemon, as you can probably see across these 3 videos, especially with the starters. Usually I don't like any of them unless I really like that starter line, like the Bayleaf line. Or in this case, the Mudkip line. And yeah, so that's the reason why I don't like Lombre. Next up is Slacking. And I have one word for this one, and it's Truant. I will say no more. And the last one of this tier is Grumpig, which is a letdown from Spoink. Because Spoink is honestly so cute, especially for a pig Pokemon. That's another reason I don't like it. It's a pig Pokemon, but like it really looks like a pig. Like, I give Emboar a pass because it's like a fire beard, which is cool. But then you have the pink pig that has pearls all over its body, and like it doesn't even take that much from Spoink. Like, Spoink is this pig that has to keep bouncing up and down and keep its heart going. Grumpig is just this pig, and it's like, cool. What else can it do? I remember there was one episode of the anime in the XY where it was able to like mind control the Spoink. But I've never seen that in its Pokédex entries, and so I don't know if that was like, let's come up with something new for this Pokemon to do or something. I don't know, just not huge on Grumpig. And now moving on to the neutral tier, you'll notice that many entire evolution lines are in this tier, such as like the Skitty line, or the Whismur line, or the Zigzagoon line, just to name a few. And then there's also a lot of just first stage Pokemon, such as like just Electrike, Wurmple, or Shroomish without the rest of the line in there. Like, it's just those individual Pokemon. And then the rest of the neutral tier is also just like the forgettable one stages that I don't think are like bad, but aren't exactly good either, such as Nosepass, or Solrock, or Lunatone, or just Pokemon like that. However, the Pokemon on top, like the entire first row, so like I believe it's Claydol, and then it ends with Beldum, I would say are solid Pokemon, but when I really thought about it, I didn't care about them a whole lot, so I just left them there. And then the one on the top row that you guys might find interesting is Sceptile, which is probably my least favorite grass starter. Grovyle is so cool, and Trico's pretty good too. That when it gets to Sceptile, it's just a complete letdown. First of all, because of the giant cool leaf that's growing on its head, just completely just dies. It goes bald. So, if you want one reason why I don't care for Sceptile, it's too bald. And next up is the good tier. And real quick, sorry that the last one sounded like I was talking through a car. I actually filmed it in my headphones because I assumed the mic would be better, and it was way worse. So, I'm too lazy to film that again, so I do apologize for that. But in the good category, these are Pokemon that I actually really liked, but I wouldn't call them great. Because what I saw when I was doing the Gen 3 video is that, while I do like Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon, while I was going through the list of Gen 3 Pokemon, I was like, wow, these are all really, really good Pokemon for most of them. And that's what this entire tier is what I said those Pokemon to. Or when I saw those Pokemon, that's what I thought. You can see many, like, cute and, I guess, cool first-stage Pokemon, like Surskit, Spoink, or, like, Aeron in the tier. And then, actually, for the fully evolved Pokemon, because there was so many of them, and I like them all quite a bit, I actually made a list. So, from worst to best, it's Shedinja, Masquerain, Dustox, Mightyena, Swellow, Swalot, Seviper, Cradily, Whiscash, Breloom, Armaldo, Cacturne, Manectric, Groudon, Tropius, Huntail, and Shiftry. So those are some of the more notable fully evolved Pokemon that I like in this gen, but I wouldn't call them great, because we'll get to that. What was even surprising is for me, especially after I just ranted about middle stage Pokemon, there's actually, I think, 4 in this tier that I think are really solid, being Vibrava, Marshtomp, Vigoroth, and Metang. So that was pretty cool. And, of course, to end it off, towards the top of the thing, you might see the Latios and Latias, which are legendaries I think are good, but nowhere near great. Like, I like them, don't get me wrong, but they're pretty forgettable in the long run. As well as the 2 Reggies, Registeel, Regice. Pretty similar thoughts on both of them. They're cool, and see what I did there? Cool? Unintentional pun. Yeah, they're cool, but I'm not, like, ecstatic about them or anything. And now we move on to almost the best of the best. We move on to the great tier, and we start off with the cool water types, as I'm going to dub it from now on, because I had it in the last video. Probably happened in the first one, I just didn't mention it. And it happened here, where there's just a list of cool water type Pokemon that are in the top tier for some reason. So I guess I am a big fan of fully evolved water type Pokemon. These Pokemon are Sharpedo, Wailord, Walrein, Melodic, which is my favorite shiny, and Kyogre, which I actually really like Kyogre, but it wasn't, like, when I think of my favorite Pokemon, it's not the favorite Pokemon I think of. I always like Groudon more, as you can probably see. But if you count the top 10 Pokemon on the list, it is in the top 10. I believe it's number 9. So I definitely like it a whole lot. Now we have the cute little guys, which is another little category that seems to always happen. Torchic, which for those of you who don't know, I don't know why you would. Torchic was my first ever Pokemon, because as I mentioned earlier, Omega Ruby was my first ever game, and Torchic was the Pokemon I picked in it, even though even though fire starters are usually my least favorite of the bunch, except for Fuecoco, who's the greatest, and I hope he evolves into something cool. But yeah, I picked Torchic first, and I really like him because of it, as well as the other cute little guys are Spheal, Trapinch, Lotad, and Minun, which on that topic was my first ever shiny, which is why it's so much higher than Plusle. And that's because Minun will always hold a special place in my heart for being the first ever shiny I found when I was a stupid baby and didn't know what I was doing. I was actually at my brother's soccer practice playing it, and I found it, which was a memory I'll always remember. Alright, and now we have Jirachi, which I looped into the little guy thing on my list, because he's a little guy. Of course I did. So, I like Jirachi. He's pretty cool. But on that topic, sorry Jirachi, but you're going to get sidelined for all of the legendaries at the same time, because we have Deoxys, Jirachi again, Kyogre again, Regirock, which is the best Regi, as well as Rayquaza. And these are all very cool, top-tier legendaries. Very strong, very cool. Most of them got forms like Rayquaza and Kyogre, and by most of them, I mean 2. But there are also super cool non-legendary Pokemon in Banette, Altaria, Gardevoir, Ludicolo, Aggron, and I guess Lairon too, which is weird because I usually don't like middle stage Pokemon, which are, once again, top tier Pokemon, and I would understand why people would like these as their favorite ones. And now, one Pokemon that you may be surprised about in this tier is Beautifly, especially after I dunked on Silcoon earlier in the video, because I was like, you always want Dustox, you never want Beautifly. But because of that, when I was playing Brilliant Diamond, which by the way, you're guaranteed to get Silcoon, so it wasn't really much of an option in that game anyway, I had a Wurmple on my team, and I was like, this is going to be temporary, So it evolved into Silcoon, and I was like, I'm still going to get rid of it. And then it evolved again into Beautifly. And then it stayed on my team for the entire game, and I called it Stew, and I love Stew, and that's why I love Beautifly now. So if you're wondering why that's in the great tier, now you know. So now the moment that you've probably been waiting for, the S tier, best of the best. What are my top 8 favorite Pokemon of this gen? Obviously, 9 and 10 are Kyogre and Aggron, that I've already talked about. But we're going to start off with Swampert, who has a really cool type, especially for a starter. He got the Quagmire Whiscash typing of Water Ground. It's one of the greatest types in the game because it counters electric, and your only major weakness is Grass, which is a 4 times weakness, but that's okay. It has a cool design for sure. And it's also just super good. Like, it has like Muddy Water and Earthquake and all that when you're playing through the game, as well as it can learn Surf for your HMs and Omega Ruby, and it's really, really great for that. And now we're going to skip camera up just for a second. We have Mudkip, and take everything I just said about Swampert, how it's cool and great in battle, and throw it out the window because this is Mudkip. Of course it's going in S tier. Next up is Camerupt, which I'm going to go back to. And the main reason that Camerupt is in here is not because of it in the actual Pokemon games. The first ever Pokemon thing I was subjected to was somebody playing through Pixelmon, the Minecraft Pokemon, because those were like my 2 interests when I was like 4, combined together. And one of the first ever Pokemon they caught was a Camerupt, and it's always had a soft place in my heart since then. And I traded with my friend in like 3rd grade for this really cool Team Magma's Camerupt holo card from Double Crisis, or as I called it at the time, Double Crisis. So that card always has a soft place in my heart too, so that's why I really like Camerupt. Flygon is up next, and Flygon is very cool. I used it on my original Oras team in my first ever playthrough. It has a really, really good typing of Ground Dragon, at least in my opinion. Pretty cool design too. Like, I can understand why people don't like Flygon, but since I used it in my first ever playthrough, I have a really soft spot and think it looks really good. As well as Trapinch and Vibrava being very solid Pokemon that make a very solid final stage Pokemon. Now we're moving on to Groudon, which was the mascot of my original Pokemon game, Pokemon Omega Ruby, as I've probably heard 10,000 times, but then again, it's the reason I like most of these Pokemon in this video. But it has a really great design, and it kicks booty in battle. Like, once you get it, like, Precipitous Blades, or whatever it's called, and you get, like, Solar Beam with its Drought ability, and its Primal Form's really cool. Like, once that all gets set up, it's just super powerful and super cool, especially the Primal design. But anyway, moving on to Salamence, which definitely grew on me over time. I'm pretty sure I didn't even see it when I originally played through Omega Ruby, because I didn't complete the Pokedex or anything in that game. Maybe I'll show you that copy one day, because I was thinking about for a future video going through my old Pokemon save files, because that was a trend in like 2018, but I know. But I still want to do it because I think it'd be fun. But yeah, Salamence grew on me over time. It definitely has a cool design. I think its Mega is a bit of a letdown, but that's just me. I still like it, don't get me wrong, but I think it's a bit of a letdown. Also, in Pokemon Sun, my original copy of Pokemon Sun, I had a level 1 Bagon from Wonder Trade. And I don't know why, but I raised it all the way to level 100 and gave it a Mega Salamencite, so that's pretty sure I'm still on my team in that game. So if I ever did that video where I showed you all the games, you can look forward to seeing my level 100 Salamence I got from Wonder Trade as a Bagon. Next up is Blaziken, and this and Metagross go back and forth for my favorite Gen 3 Pokemon. Right now, I chose Metagross, mainly because I like it more, but also because I didn't want to do 3 videos in a row where my favorite Pokemon has been a starter Pokemon, so that also edged it towards Metagross's favor. But we'll get to Metagross in a second. For Blaziken, like I said earlier with Torchic, it was my first ever Pokemon I ever got, so it always has a soft spot for that. Trying to read my notes. I wrote this very messy. It's very good competitively. Obviously, it has the Speed Boost ability, which even without its Mega was busted, but then they give it the Mega, and it was like, I'm pretty sure, like, I think the highest tier is Uber. It went straight to Uber tier, and it was just, like, destroyed everything. It's also pretty nostalgic for me, and on the topic of the Mega Pokemon, really cool design, especially compared to Swampert's design, which is a letdown because just giant, like, ripped arms, like Donkey Kong style. And then Mega Sceptile is cool. It's definitely an improvement over Sceptile, but when ranking just Sceptile on its own is kind of disappointing to me. But, anyway, now we move on to the number 1 Pokemon of the gen, which is Metagross. Which, I mean, wow. Look at Metagross. On the video right now, look at Metagross in the number 1 spot, and tell me that doesn't look so freaking cool. Like, how can you not like that? Even if you don't like Metagross, you gotta admit it at least looks cool. It also has a pretty good typing. I believe the only other Pokemon was Steel Psychic, which, forgive me if I'm wrong, I believe the only other Pokemon is Solgaleo. Maybe like an Ultra Beast or something, but I don't think so. So it has a pretty unique typing. It's very, very strong. Like, the optimal setup, at least in any of the games that I've played, is like Meteor Mash, Hammer Arm, Psychic, and then, I don't know, Earthquake or something, and then it just destroys everything in your playthrough. It's great. It has a really cool typing in Steel type. I've always really liked Steel types. It honestly goes back and forth for me with the Grass type. Because with the Grass type, I really like the starters. I love pretty much all of the Grass type starters. But when it goes to Steel type Pokemon, I love all the fully evolved Pokemon. Like, I love Metagross, and I love even some of the more weirder ones. Like, I really like Bronzong, and I really like Bastiodon, and I really like Magnezone, to name a few off the top of my head. That part wasn't scripted, so I was struggling there. But then there's also letdown Steel Pokemon, like there's Klefki, and then there's Pokemon I just don't care for, like Celesteela. That kind of dragged down the reputation of the Steel type. But that is besides the point, as we have just finished another one of these tier list videos. So expect Gen 4 late next month. I seem to always delay these as long as I can. Obviously, I actually filmed this on the same day, a month later than the one I filmed the last one, May 21st. The last one was April 21st. Try and get this one out sooner than June. And, like I said, we'll do Gen 4 next month. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching my silly opinions. And by the way, I know that none of you watched this video, but if anybody did, and you were curious about any of the Pokemon that I didn't mention, or ones that I did, if you comment the name of a Pokemon you want me to talk about below, I can reply to your comment and give you my opinions on the Pokemon. And that goes for any of the earlier videos or any of the later ones too. But anyways, before I ramble on too much, thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.